Hello, dear friends. Welcome to Price Se Dosti YouTube channel. In today's video session, we are going to discuss about the Indian Navy, fifth chapter of your 9th standard defense studies workbook. In previous video session, we have already completed first four chapters in which we have discussed different aspects related to the defense forces of our country, the national interest, the strategic interest of our country, what are the challenges in front of the security of our country. All these things we had discussed. We had discussed about Indian Army in depth in chapter number 4. Now we are discussing about Indian Navy, the very elite force of our country. So let's discuss, have a brief overview of Indian Army over here. So the world's first idle dock is believed to have been built at Lothal around 2300 BC during the Harappan civilization near the present day Mangalore harbor on the Gujarat coast. So guys, if you trace the origin of Indian Navy, so we have very old history of this particular arm wing. But if we trace the particular starting point when this particular navigation through different sea routes and all these things started, so the traces will found around 2300 BC during the Harappan civilization at Lothal. So let me show you map where this Lothal is located. This is a coastal town which is located near this Gulf of Khambat in Gujarat state. Okay, so whatever brown color area you are observing over here, it is a Indus Valley civilization area over here like this. So across this particular brown area, different towns of Indus Valley civilization they are spread, and out of which Lothal is one of them. This Lothal is very famous port city at that time, and it is in news also because recently the Prime Minister of Portugal, he visited this particular city, and visited he met our Prime Minister Narendra Modi over there, and both the leaders they decided to establish National Maritime Archaeological Museum at this particular Lothal city. They want to rejuvenate the maritime memories of this city, and they are going to establish this National Maritime Heritage Museum over here. Okay, so remember this point. This Lothal is a very important coastal town and very important Indus Valley civilization city, and which has the oldest dock. Okay, तो ये आपको यहाँ पे ध्यान रखना है. Presently Mangalore harbor is there near this coast, and just near to this Mangalore harbor the ancient remains of Lothal you can able to found out. Okay, so this is a picture of Lothal harbor, how it was constructed. So it is a Arabian Sea, you can see the part of Gulf of Khambat, and टू अवॉइड द सिल्टेशन, जो भी मिट्टी वगैरह होती है वो हार्बर में आके जमती है, तो बड़े शिप वहाँ पे डॉक नहीं कर पाते, तो उसके लिए उन्होंने ये प्रोविजन कर रखा था. देखो, एक नैरो वाटर बॉडी, एक चैनल निकाला था, और इस तरह से यहाँ पे डॉक था, तो जो भी शिप्स थे तो ये यहाँ से इस तरह से अंदर आके यहाँ पे डॉक करते थे, उनका काम हो जाता था तो फिर से चलाते. यहाँ पर भी ज़्यादा सिल्ट हो गया तो यहाँ से ये एक आउटलेट दिया है उन्होंने, यहाँ से पानी छोड़ते थे ताकि ये सिल्ट फिर से भाग बहकर यहाँ पे निकल जाए. सो सी यू कैन सी ओवर हियर, तो यहाँ से इन्होंने एक इनफ्लो इस तरह से दिया है. तो बहुत एडवांस उन्होंने उनकी जो हार्बरिंग सिस्टम थी. तो आप यहाँ पे देख सकते हो, ये गोदी थी, बंदरगाह जैसे हम बोलते थे. यहाँ पे अलग अलग गुड्स की इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट वगैरह होता था, आयात निर्यात जो भी है. और ये इस तरह का लोथल पोर्ट था, तो ये आप यहाँ पे देख सकते हो. ओके, between the 5th and 10th century AD, the Chola and Kalinga kingdoms of southern and eastern India had established their rule over Malay, Sumatra, and western Java, Indonesia portion. So these two are the very powerful South Indian kingdom during 10th century AD, the Chola and Kalingas. Okay, so where these particular kingdoms are located, let's see something about our geography also. So Kalinga, it is nothing but the Odisha state, today's coastal Odisha and some part of Andhra. So this Cuttack, Jagannath Puri, all these things, Bhubaneswar. So this particular part of Odisha comes under the empire of Kalinga. Okay, at that time, and the Cholas are here in the south. Some part of this Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, southern Andhra. So this is the Chola kingdom. Okay, at that time. So these both kingdoms they have their trade relation with this Malay Peninsula, means what? This Malaysia. This is Malay Peninsula. You can see over here. The Sumatra. This is Sumatra. Java over here. Here Java. This is entire Indonesia country. Okay. So these coastal kingdoms, they have their trade relation with these different Southeast Asian nations. Okay, and that's why they have their own naval ships. Okay, they have their own naval forces. So that is the thing which India has, okay, during ancient history. The Andaman and Nicobar Island then serve as an important midway point for trade between the Indian peninsula and this kingdom, as also with China. So you can see over here, these are the Andaman and Nicobar Island. Okay, they are the integral part of our country. Okay, and since ancient time, they acts as a midway point. Okay, so जो कोई राही होता है, यात्री होता है, कभी भी यात्रा करता है तो बीच में कहीं एक ऐसी जगह ढूँढता है कि जहाँ पे उसको थोड़ा-सा आराम मिल सके, कुछ चीज़ें वो नई खरीद सके, जो प्रवास में उसको हेल्प करने वाली है, यात्रा में उसको हेल्प करने वाली है। तो उस तरीके से वो एक पॉइंट देखता है, तो ये जो आइलैंड्स थे, वो उस तरह से काम करते थे कि ये इंडोनेशिया, मलय पेनिनसुला, जावा और चाइना के साथ जो भी इंडिया का ट्रेड चलता था उस ज़माने में, तो यहाँ पे उनके लिए एक जो भी उनके शिप से उनको कुछ रिपेयर वर्क करना है या कुछ और चीज़ें करनी है, तो यहाँ पे वो रुका करते थे। तो ये इट इज़ एक्ट्स एज़ अ मिडवे पॉइंट बिटवीन दिस पर्टिकुलर ट्रेड। ओके, so remember these things. So we have discussed about the brief overview about the origin of this navigation system or the naval expeditions in India. Then Indian maritime interests witnessed a remarkable resurgence in the late 17th century when Siddhis of Janjira allied with Mughals to become a major power on the western coast. Okay, so meanwhile, this naval power is lost in India, but after 17th century, you can able to see the remarkable resurgence. Okay, so Siddhis of Janjira and Mughals, they combinedly developed a major naval power on the western coast of India, means the Surat, the Gujarat region, some part of Maharashtra, northern Maharashtra. So it is under the control of these Siddhis and the Mughals. Okay, so there is a Janjira fort in Maharashtra's near the coastline of Maharashtra. So it is under the under the control of Janjira Siddhi. Okay, so these Siddhis and Mughals naval forces, they are very troublesome for the Maratha kingdom, the Hindavi Swaraj, and that's why Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, he also raised his own naval power, that is his own armor, his own navy. Okay, so in medieval era or in medieval Indian history, this person Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is the only visionary person who thought that Indian kingdom, the native Indian kingdom, should have their own naval forces. They don't have to uh, they don't have to depend on the any other's force. So that's why he is also known as the father of Indian Navy. Remember, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is also known as the father of Indian Navy because of his visionary ideas about the Indian Navy. Okay, keep he has put a stone for Indian naval development. He adopted many advanced techniques and strategies to develop the Indian Navy at that time, and many things followed in today's Indian Navy also. Some tricks and techniques which belongs to this Chhatrapati's armor. Okay, so this led to Chhatrapati Shivaji rising his own fleet commanded by able admirals like Sidoji Gujar and later the Kanoji Angre, the very famous admiral. Okay, so that's why we have this Angre vessel also in our Indian Navy. This Maratha fleet, along with legend of Kanoji, held sway over entire Konkan coast, keeping the English, Dutch, and Portuguese at bay. So what they want to tell over here, जो कान्होजी आंग्रे और सिदोजी गुजर, इन्होंने जो भी एक आरमार पे कंट्रोल पा लिया था, या उनका जो भी एक दरारा था, तो वो इतना था कि इंग्लिश, डच और पुर्तगीज, ये जितने भी लोग वहाँ पे ट्रेड करने के लिए आते थे, वो सब उनके मतलब ट्रेड के रिलेटेड ही काम करते थे। बाकी के काम में वो हस्तक्षेप कर ही नहीं पाते थे, क्योंकि मराठा आर्मी तब स्ट्रॉन्ग, मराठा नेवी तब बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग थी। ओके, सो दे हैव held sway over means they have held control over these foreign powers. Okay, so that's the powerful and mighty navy established by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj at that time. Okay, and because of his visionary ideas about navy, He is considered as father of Indian Navy. Remember this thing. The Indian Navy grew rapidly after independence. As of now, it is undergoing modernization with new ships being added to the fleet. The Indian Navy has all types of warships, including the aircraft carrier and submarines also. Okay, so whatever modern Indian Navy we have, so its origin is took place during the British era. So British have many Indian people, many Indian sailors in their navy, the Royal Indian Navy at that time, and that Royal Indian Navy converted into the today's Indian Navy after independence. Okay, so during British era, the whatever modern Indian Navy, whatever modern warfares and ships are there, they are incorporated in Indian Navy. Okay, and right now it is one of the strongest navy in the world. So Indian Navy have different type of ships, destroyers, different aircraft carriers and submarines. Okay, so we will discuss all these type of ships, what the functions they perform in Indian Navy. So all these thing we will discuss, but just try to understand the modern navy has a legacy of this colonial era. Okay, and right now we have the nuclear triad also. What do you mean by nuclear triad? So it is a capability of any particular country to launch a nuclear missile from land, from water and from air. So we have INS Arihant. Okay, INS Arihant, which is a nuclear capable submarine which can able to launch nuclear weapon if it is underwater also. Okay, so it doesn't matter that suppose if anyone attack on India by nuclear missile, and he thought that we have destroyed India's nuclear facility, which whatever available and on land, so that India can't able to fire back with nuclear missiles. But India has nuclear triad, means what? India can revert back from three different ways: from land also, from air also, and from water also. So we have this capability, and that's why Indian Navy, these submarines are very important for us. We have different project 15, project 15A, project 75. Okay, so if you don't know about this project, just google it, you will get all information about it. These are the project to construct the indigenous submarines. Okay, then we have aircraft carrier. Recently we scrapped the old aircraft carrier, that is INS Virat. Okay, सो अभी 2 दिन पहले वो न्यूज़ थी. आई होप यू माइट हैव सीन दैट न्यूज़. लेट्स डिस्कस अबाउट द रोल ऑफ इंडियन नेवी. So the military role, so it has basically two type of role. One is offensive role, one is defensive role. Okay, offensive means what? Akramak. And defensive means what? Rakshatmak. Remember these two things. The application of maritime power against enemy forces, territory and trade. So that is the offensive operation. Okay, so if we are deploying our Indian Navy to any other marine power, okay, to any other enemy territory or enemy force or enemy trade route, then it is a offensive action. Okay, suppose if we are deploying our Indian Navy in Gulf of Oman, okay, to fight with the pirates, then it is offensive operation. If someone attacking on India through their navy, and if we are defending our coastline, then it is a defensive operation. Okay, the application of maritime power to protect own forces, own land, own territory and own trade, it is a defensive operation. Offensive, defensive. Offensive means akramak, defensive means rakshatmak. So I hope it is clear to you. Okay, suppose you are attacking on someone, then it is a offensive. If you are defeating yourself, someone attack you and you are defeating yourself, then it is a defensive operation. Then we have diplomatic role of our Indian Navy also. The larger purpose of Navy's diplomatic role is favorably shape the maritime environment to promote India's national interest and national security objectives. So remember, so whatever India's national interests are there, some national security objectives are there. So these objectives are fulfilled by this diplomatic role of the Indian Navy. So during the crisis, Indian Navy helped different nations for on humanitarian basis. कोई भी आपदा आती किसी अन्य देशों में, तो इंडियन नेवी उनकी हेल्प के लिए जाती है. ओके, अभी इंडोनेशिया में सुनामी ने हिट किया था, तो इंडिया ने उनके जो वॉरशिप्स है वहाँ पे भेजे थे, ताकि वहाँ पे जो ह्यूमैनिटेरियन क्राइसिस है उसको टैकल करने में हम उनकी हेल्प कर सके. जापान में भी अभी देखो एक टाइफून आया था, तो बहुत तबाही उसने मचाई थी, तो इंडिया ने उनका एक नेवल शिप भेजा था ताकि हमारी इंडियन नेवी की टीम जापान के फोर्सेस को वहाँ पे रिकवरी करने में मदद कर सके. सो इट इज़ अ गुडविल डिप्लोमेसी एंड दैट इज़ अ डिप्लोमेटिक रोल performed by our Indian Navy. Then we have the constabulary role. So what is this constabulary role? Let's discuss. The protection and promotion of India's maritime security is one of the prime responsibility of Indian Navy. After the terrorist attack on Mumbai on 26 November 2008, the overall responsibility for coastal security has been mandated to Indian Navy. In close coordination with Indian Coast Guard, State Marine Police, and other central or state government and port authorities. So Indian Navy will take care to safeguard our coast, okay, our maritime interests. So this is nothing but the collaborative role. Means what? In collaboration with different security agencies like Indian Coast Guard, State Marine Police, and other central government and port authorities, Indian Navy conducting different security operations near the coast or in the exclusive economic zone of the Indian territory. Okay, EZ is nothing but the 200 nautical mile area from the sea coast. It comes under the jurisdiction of that particular country. Suppose India has coastline. Okay, so from the coast of India till 200 nautical mile inside the sea, it is known as exclusive economic zone. Means whatever economic assets are there that can be extracted by that particular country, it is a international law of sea, and according to international law of sea, this economic EEZ is defined. Okay, so to safeguard this EEZ also, Indian Navy doing a great job. Okay, then we have command and control. The Navy is headed by Chief of Naval Staff. Okay, he is located at integrated headquarter of the Ministry of Defense, that is Navy also known as the naval headquarter, which is located in New Delhi. Okay, so it has a different operational role, it has a different command and control operations also, and this headquarter to command the entire navy operation located in New Delhi. It is an integrated headquarter along with the Ministry of Defense. Okay, so remember these things. So we have discussed about the Indian Navy, its historical background, the role of Indian Navy, and let's discuss about the naval command. So we have basically the four naval commands. One is the Western Naval Command, second one Eastern, and third one is the Southern. Okay, and there is a, fourth one, but which is considered as a separate. That is the Andaman and Nicobar Naval Command. So let's discuss one by one. So the headquarter is located in Mumbai. The if we consider the Western Naval Command, its headquarter located in Mumbai, with ships of fleet based on the various naval stations at a port in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, and Karnataka. Okay, so this Western Naval Command's headquarter is in Mumbai, and its ships and the fleet means the group of ships. It is located at various naval locations, which is the port towns in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, and Karnataka. So remember, these four states coast comes under Western Naval Command. Then Eastern Naval Command, headquarter located in Visakhapatnam, which is the eastern coastal town. Okay, with the ships of fleet based on various naval stations at a port in Bengal, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. Okay, so let's understand these things with map. So if you consider the Western Naval Command, then here you can able to see the Mumbai city, which is a headquarter of this Western Naval Command. Okay, and the four states comes under this Western Naval Command. See here, Gujarat, the very westernmost state which has the coastline in India. Then we have Maharashtra over here, then we have Goa, and then we have the Karnataka over here. Okay, then we have the Eastern Naval Command, which headquarter is located at Visakhapatnam, which is the coastal city. You can see it over here somewhere. So it is Andhra Pradesh, Vijayawada, somewhere here. Visakhapatnam is there. Okay, so remember, in this region you will find the Visakhapatnam, and here the West Bengal, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, and the Tamil Nadu. So entire eastern coast comes under this particular command. Okay, then we have the Southern Naval Command. The headquarter of Southern Naval Command is located in Kochi, also known as Queen of Arabian Sea. The Kochi city is also known as Queen of Arabian Sea, remember. With the ship of fleet based in the various naval stations at a port in Kerala and Lakshadweep. So this Southern Naval Command, it takes care of the naval bases which are located in Kerala and in Lakshadweep in this region. Okay, so remember this thing: Kerala and Lakshadweep, it comes under the Southern Naval Command. And then we have the Andaman and Nicobar Naval Command over here. So here you will see the one city, that is a Port Blair. Okay, so it is a headquarter of this Andaman and Nicobar command. Okay, in this region, and this Port Blair, it is a headquarter. Okay, to protect the Andaman and Nicobar Island is the responsibility of this Andaman and Nicobar Naval Command. So this is also a command, but include a large number of troops also and aircraft also from Indian Army and Air Force. Okay, besides the naval ships. नेवल शिप के साथ साथ वहाँ पे हमारे आर्मी के ट्रूप्स भी है और एयर फोर्स के कुछ क्वाड्रन भी वहाँ पे है. ओके, it is therefore classified as a tri-service command. It is commanded in rotation between Army, Navy, and Air Force. Its headquarters is located in Port Blair. Okay, so it is a tri-command, tri-service command. Why it is tri-service command? Because all the armed forces of India, Army, Navy, and Air Force, they are situated over there, and they are combinedly operating this particular command. Okay, so that's why it is known as tri-service command. So guys, in this way we have discussed about the Indian Navy, its historical background, its operation, and different commands of Indian Navy, the operational commands. Okay, and their headquarter also. So in next video session we will discuss about different types of the ships in the service of Indian Navy, what are their characteristic, how mighty they are. So we will discuss these entire things in our next session. I hope you enjoyed this particular session. Stay tuned with this particular series and enjoy your learning. Thank you guys, have a great day.